But let's get into it. I think, we're going to start with Trent Williams. Trent Williams is the leader of the 49ers, and he returned today. And he's an interesting guy because he is the leader in the room. We'll go through some of the things that we talked about with Trent today. As he just, he's been gone. Now he's back, and we're thrilled. He's obviously the Niners are thrilled to have him. I thought there was a chance he was going to retire. He told me today there was never a chance he was going to retire. But I want you guys to hear this soundbite from him. Because to me, this was one of the best sound bites I think I've heard down in Santa Clara since I've been covering the 49ers. I asked him a little bit about Ricky Pearsall and that situation, and he gave me kind of a very surprising answer. Here's Trent when I asked him a little bit about Pearsall down in Santa Clara.
Leaders on this team, and obviously the thing with Ricky Saturday was pretty scary.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young heads in that room that look up to you. What would you say to them about handling themselves in big cities as a target, as a pro athlete?
Yeah, I think that's like you said. But just touching on that, I honestly, that to be real, I felt more compelled to come back after that than anything, because I've never experienced that, like in my playing career, to have a teammate shot, so to speak. So in my mind, I'm like, man, I just want to get back, get around the team. Like, Ricky stood out to me because when I popped in for OTAs for the 30 minutes I was here, he did like go out of his way to come and introduce himself to me, in which we was going to meet each other eventually. But, I'm getting there. There's 90 guys on the team. I'm just walking out. I don't really know everybody just yet. So for him to come up and kind of introduce, and I just instantly felt his vibe, and can just feel he's such a genuine person. So as soon as I seen that happen, I'm like, man, I just want to get back. I just want to be a voice in his ear, let him know everything gonna be all right. I'll be there for the team. A lot of people probably hurt and confused about what happened and thinking that am I next, so I wanted to be around for that. But my message is just to realize you're a target, and this world is a hard place. It's a very, very, very harsh place. And I think sometimes we are shielded from reality. And for better or worse, whatever the reason is, we can be. So just staying in the moment and realizing that, your life is more important than anything that you can wake up and put on. So just always keep that eye out, man, and just know that there's people out here that don't really value human life. And you just got to be aware of that.
An amazing soundbite there from Trent, and one that I think a lot of young athletes ought to take heed of. I mean, somebody wants your Rolex, give them your Rolex. Somebody wants your chain, give them your chain. Value your life, and be prepared and be understand that that pro athletes can be targets. I saw Debo the other day went on social media and said, "Hey guys, for the fans, don't tweet out like if you see us dining somewhere or something like that, because it is, you never know who's going to roll up. You never know what their intentions are. You never know what their mindset is or how crazy they are." So I thought that was good advice from Debo to the fans, is just, try to respect the athlete's privacy a little bit. But then listening to Trent, I thought that I was shocked by that, that he basically said that, the Pearsall thing just made him want to come back to the team that much faster, that much more, so he can kind of counsel some of these young players. And I think his advice there was absolutely golden, which is be aware of your surroundings, understand that, some people are, you are a target to some people, and understand that there are people in this world that life doesn't matter a lot. And so, things sometimes matter more to some people than life. And just, if you have it in perspective, I think that was the message there. The Pearsall thing, as you could tell, really hits hard. I mean, it really hits hard. Because these are young guys, 22, 23 years old, sometimes living away from home for the first time since college. And, maybe the first time being in college. A lot of these guys went to college in small town America. This might be their first time ever living in a major metro area. And you've got to think about it. You got to think about it. You got to be discerning about what you're going to do. and where you go, and be aware of your surroundings. I thought that was an incredible soundbite from Trent right there. Now I want to hear from John Lynch, because Lynch spoke today from the heart. Absolutely, and we'll share the screen on this one as well. You guys can hear this. This is John Lynch down in Santa Clara. I asked him about just kind of the overall impact of this shooting on and I'll rewind this here. But I asked him about the overall, the impact on the team, just because he's around the players, and we were only at practice for a short amount of time. We get time in the locker room, but a lot of times guys don't want to open up sometimes about stuff like this. John, who knows the players, and they're much more open, I'm sure, around him than they are around the media. They're probably more guarded around the media. So I asked him this question today, and here's what he had to say.
Tragic situation. Just from afar, have you been able to kind of look at what kind of impact the whole thing has had on the group team?
Sobering. It was very sobering. You never love to get any call with regards to your players where they're in danger or peril, and man, the earliest calls that I received were extremely scary. Hey, we believe Ricky's been shot in the chest, and that outcome's not usually a good one. So that was a tough Saturday. It was a tough ride down to San Francisco General, and just so grateful that everything worked out the way it did.
There you go. So John Lynch, and John went on today to talk a little bit about, the fact that some people were very critical of the fact that the Niners were having a team party on the same night. And he said that Ricky, said, hey, I want everybody to be at the party, and they FaceTimed him from the party. And so I know there were a lot of people who were very critical of that, but I mean, that was a party that was planned in advance, could have been canceled, obviously. If this had been, a life and death situation, truly, where he was dying, they could have canceled the party, probably would have. They got the heads up that he was okay. He said, go ahead with the party. They went ahead with the party. If you want to be critical, be critical. But that's really the story. So as far as what we saw and heard today in Santa Clara, we didn't see a ton, because I don't think I've ever been to a 49er practice where they let the media watch less than what we watched today. I mean, it took longer to walk from the media room to the field and back than it did for us than the total amount of time that we spent on the field watching. We literally watched the guys walk out on the field, jog up and down the field 4 or 5 times, do a little bit of light jogging around, a little bit of light stretching, and boop, all right, everybody's got to go. We're going inside. So, we've gone from training camp mode, which is lots and lots of access, and not every team gets that. The 49ers are pretty good about granting access to a point in the year where the regular season, it's cloak and dagger and secrecy, and we will not show anything to anybody. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. We were out there for literally 7 minutes. So we didn't really see anything other than Brandon Ayuk was out there and he was wearing his uniform. Christian McCaffrey, who's had a calf strain, and the Niners have been very protective of him this summer. He was out there practicing. Trent Williams, I didn't actually see him practice, and I didn't see him on the field, but he was getting into a golf cart to be driven to where he would get out to eventually practice. So those guys all suited up and practiced. Why is that significant? Because if you don't practice today, and you've been gone as long as Ayuk hasn't practiced all year, but of course he's 26. Trent's been working out. Ayuk's been working out, but it's not football. And it's like, it's, if you haven't been, if they couldn't get a full week of practice in preparation for the Jets, I don't know if I would have wanted to play them on Monday night against the Jets. Now I know it's the NFL, so your money always plays. And that's kind of the rule of law, is that you always put your players on the field. But that's the big concern of week 1 is just don't have Trent, have any kind of calf strain, quad strain, any kind of soft tissue, but not where it's any kind of a tear, anything that would be long-term. He looks like he's in great shape. I asked him about his workout today. He said he's kind of changed up the workout. Didn't say specifically what him and his trainer have been doing, but he owns his own gym and he's notorious for his workouts. He would, and it's funny. I do want to talk a little bit more about Trent today because I thought he was fantastic at the podium. So many of the things that he said today were really interesting. He said basically that one of he was asked, "Are you dodging training camp? Are you just did you just skip camp because you didn't want to participate in camp?" And he's like, "No. He actually at one point says, I like camp." He's like, "I don't want to be a teacher's pet, but I like camp." And he says camp's the one time of the year where he gets to meet some of the guys and get to know them. And he laughed because he said, "Kyle's been taking care of me." He said, "I used to go full bore in camp, but now it's like they take such good care of me and they've got all kinds of rest days built in." So I think that was kind of interesting. And then, Trent also, he's basically said that they started talking about the contract extension in minicamp. And that he said he wasn't totally surprised that it took so long because, the team had to deal with Ayuk and there was other things going on, but he didn't want it to take this long. He said Kyle's family to him. And he also kind of referenced, and we'll have to follow up with him later on this one, that it was an intricate, contract restructuring. And we'll get the details on that, I'm sure, in the next day or so. But that was kind of interesting. He said, he maintained the same thing that Lynch and Shanahan maintained, that the communication between the two sides was always really, really good. He just, you can tell. I mean, Trent Williams has a special place in his heart for Kyle Shanahan. He also said that, Chris Forster, the Niners O-line coach, is family to him. He was asked how long does he want to play? Does he want to retire? He says he wants to play as long as he can play. He says, he admitted that the Niners were kind of uneasy with the fact of guaranteeing money to a player that is 38 years old. And that's where he'll be at the end of this deal. He's 36 now, but he's got 2 more guaranteed years. So a lot of interesting stuff there from Trent today. And then we'll get into some of the guys that he liked later on, because that to me was the overwhelming positive. But he says he wants to play until he's 40. And you know what? He's like, they take really good care of our bodies. They take really good care of us. And because of it, we have longer careers. He said, I'm going to take full advantage of that. As I said, he admitted that the Niners were concerned about paying him guaranteed money at age 38. And I just thought his answer about Ricky there was so interesting. The fact that he wanted to come back to lead this group of guys. And then also he finished up by saying that, talking about Brock Purdy, he was talking about, man, there's all these other quarterbacks that come into the league and they're all-star quarterbacks. He's like, Brock's better than all of them. So obviously, talking about all the big-time prospects that Brock Purdy has beaten out to become the Niners quarterback.